Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, September 29th, 2025. Notice of option to recess into executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.02. Notice is hereby given to the members of the commission and to the general public that at this meeting, the commission may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public, for legal advice and discussion with the commission's attorney on any item listed on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. Is there any, no, sorry, wrong thing. Okay, roll call.
Thank you. Carol Mandino,
Present.
Joshua Mayer, Christine Sheehy,
Present.
CJ Lukey,
Present.
Mary Norton,
Present.
Ian Sharp,
Present.
Megan Weller.
Present.
Thank you.
I was trying to get to this. Whoops, what happened to my teams? Where'd it go? Okay, so public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject within our jurisdiction that is not scheduled before the commission today. Due to open meeting laws, the commission cannot discuss or act on items presented during this portion of the agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please wait for me as chair to call for public comment at the time the item is heard. Is there any public comment at this point? Hearing and seeing none, we'll go on to the approval of the minutes. Is there anyone who would like to approve the minutes? I got to get back in the meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from September 24th, 2025.
Commissioner Norton has moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
So Commissioner Sharp has seconded the motion. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we're going to go into the regular item 5A, the Flagstaff Regional Plan Land Use 2045, that was hard to say, adoption. And so we are going to continue the deliberation that we had and discussion from the other day by going in and looking at the comments. So if you want to bring those up while I get back into the meeting. There we go. Is it's not coming up yet on the computer, so it was up and then it disappeared. I'm not. Yeah, but I'm not getting it. Are people online? Are you getting the spreadsheet?
Yes, Chairman, do you know we can see it online?
Yeah. Oh, there.
You might
no,
try
it
switching your view on
It just started.
Oh, good.
Okay. Did yours start? So, well, I have all my comments on my. Where did I'm sorry, I'm just. I thought we were on item or line 78, but or on my copy, but here we're 78. Wait a minute. Okay, so yeah, we're at the same place. Okay. Just didn't look the same. Sorry about that. All right, so this was to establish an acreage threshold of 5 gross acres, allowing smaller sites to be processed as minor plan amendment. Proposed language says requests affecting 5 gross acres of land or less shall be processed as minor plan amendments. Requests of 5.1 acres or more shall follow the established plan amendment procedures when otherwise applicable. And that is, I don't, let me see.
Chairman, do you know,
Yes.
we can start with number 78, but just so you know, we'll need to go back to number 77. We skipped one that needs
Oh.
a quick piece, but we can start where you've got us started.
Okay, let's just start where I was and then we'll go back.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So, in the staff comments, I don't know if the staff wants to read that or if we want to look at whether or not we
Staff can speak to that if you like. I'm Sarah Dector. I'm the Comprehensive and Neighborhood Planning Manager. I am sorry that I can't be with you all tonight. I'm in Texas. So please excuse me. I can't always see what's happening in the room, so just call out when you need me. But staff, we tried to very quickly go out and talk to staff about the later comments that came in. At this point, staff does not support exempting proposals under 5 acres. The reason for that is some of the discussions we had last time, which is that with that this could create a loophole where someone takes, say, a 25-acre parcel and just breaks it into 5-acre projects in order to avoid a major plan amendment. It also could be an issue, I think, with the urban growth boundary, because the discussion from the last meeting was that we did not want to have any expansion of the urban growth boundary that wasn't considered a major plan amendment, and this would be creating an exception to that. So I'm not sure you would want it to apply to everything if you were to discuss it and carry it forward. But the issue that it could create a usable loophole, since we see many projects that are 5 acres or less in the community, simply because we have a limited land supply, and also the concern that it might be creating an exemption to the urban growth boundary, which the commission expressed they would not like to do at the last meeting, are the 2 reasons staff does not support the exemption.
Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Do we want to do Christine?
Yeah, I have a problem with this. And, I sent some comments to staff. And the reason being is most jurisdictions do allow for exemptions just because it's such a burden to process a small parcel. I mean, even now we have the consecutive, you process a general plan amendment, then you have to go through the zoning case. So if you're doing any type of a property acquisition and you're faced with those burdens, you may not even do the project. If you're doing any type, like I've done a lot of land acquisitions, and you look at the risk factors going into buying a piece of property. So I had sent staff some exemptions that, like the last community I worked in, Queen Creek, they had exemptions because if you take that and you look at a small property owner that's going to try to do something and they have to face a general plan amendment, Then they have to come back later and do a zoning amendment. That's a long process, and we may be creating, an unintended consequence. So I think, and this may not be tonight, but I just don't think it's a good idea when you're trying to promote infill. I don't have a lot of experience myself on small infill, and I have on large properties, and even then, going through a major amendment, then following it subsequently with a zoning case is way too much time and way too much risk. So I don't know what the answer is. I just think the cost for those two processes for a small property owner is a burden. And I don't know if we'll solve it tonight, but I just don't think that's a good idea. It's unintended consequence. And many communities have exemptions. I mean, some of them are huge. City of Phoenix general plan amendments like 3.5 square miles. That's the extreme. Others are 10, 20, 5 acres. And so I do think we need to look at what other communities are doing. And most people, the concern that staff has, if you have a 20-acre parcel, you're probably not going to do a land split and just to avoid the general plan amendment and start chipping away at 5 acres, 5 acres. So I think there's a way to go around that. The whole parcel should be, if you have a whole parcel, you need to file the amendment for the whole parcel, not allow that even as an exemption. So I don't know what the answer is tonight. I just think it's putting a big burden on small properties. We're trying to do infill and it just doesn't seem right.
So is there something that could be stated that you cannot subparcel the lands to 5 acres just to get around this? I
That-
mean,
I think, because Commissioner Sheehy, you're spot on, and we definitely don't want that unintended consequence to infill development. But we do see where we do have applications from large land holdings that are peeled out. And so we do see that as an actual thing that is occurring. So I think the way you said it, that you can't peel it out of a larger parcel, if somehow, I don't know the exact language right now, but if somehow we could make it clear that it's intended for the full size and not a portion of a larger, but the actual real property has to be 5 acres or less to be exempted, I think that is definitely something we would like to work on. But making it clear that if you have 100 acres, you can't peel out 5 acres. It would have to be bringing the full 100 acres. So let us maybe kind of noodle on that and to get some right language. Your point's well taken, and definitely agree that, but we were kind of concerned about the other thing happening. So thanks.
is there a way that somebody can sit here and figure it out while we're
Yes.
looking at other things, and then we
Yeah.
can come back to this one? Is that agreeable to everybody that we come back to this? Okay.
Just another
I have-
Commissioner Norton first, and then I'll go to you, Sarah.
I just wondered how something like this would affect, sometimes large parcel owners, they get partners, they break things apart, they turn things into sub LLCs, and then that seems to be potentially creating a loophole, if you start to create different ownerships of these parcels, but yet they really are part of the bigger picture. That would be my concern. And I think that's an unintended consequence of going in that direction for some of these larger sites.
Well, if you broke a parcel up, you'd have to have a legal subdivision process or a lot split. So even if you're creating different LLCs, that would be private, not what staff is going to be looking at or we would look at. So, and I know, yeah, people bring in new investors, they have small parcels, they believe they're going to get rezoned for whatever, but most of that's on paper. It's not officially filed. So if you have parcel from the county assessor, unless it's subdivided or recorded as a split or whatever, that's not going to happen. So I think that's, why I'm thinking that some of this is people are concerned about it when you really can't do it without a process. Now, granted, if someone does go through that process, you'll see it. And if they say the larger parcel has to be dominant, there is language to get around it. Because I think we're worried about, the what if someone goes to these extremes and missing the picture that for some small parcels that are trying to, they can't spread the cost over a 200-acre piece or whatever. It's tiny. And you got to make them go through all of this rigmarole. It's for what?
Sarah?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Dino. I think there are two questions the commission would need to answer if they wanted to move this forward. One is what Michelle stated, which is how would you want us, and maybe you don't have to worry about the exact language, we could have some time to work on that before the council hearing. But if you are interested in moving this forward, to create language that prevents someone from basically piecemealing a plan amendment would be one piece. And then the second piece, and I'm going to switch with Lauren and share my screen for this part, is would you want it to apply to all 6 major plan amendment categories? Or would you want to limit the application of the 5-acre exemption to certain categories? Because you could say that. You could say any 5-acre parcels could be exempted from like 1, 2, and 5, but not from 3 or 4. So I think that's another level of clarity when looking at this potential alteration to the draft that I think staff would want to know your feedback on before we end up in a hearing with council.
I could jump in here. That's what I had sent to staff. Like when I worked on the Queen Creek general plan, there was only certain categories you could do this in. So maybe it's like the residential infill where, to Commissioner Norton's point, they might be trying to carve off a commercial piece or something that's different. That way you would allow the residential pieces to be able to process for infill housing versus a commercial. I think that would be reasonable. But when I sent to staff the different categories for Queen Creek, they had several. You could only do this in certain ones for that reason. So I would be okay just doing it for residential infill. And like Queen Creek exempted it from the larger rural parcels because they didn't want people to do the lot splits. So maybe more.
So if I understand you correctly, Commissioner Sheehy, you would only want this to be an exemption to category 1, or maybe 1 and 4.
So far, I think that would be, it's hard because I don't have as much background as you guys, but I'm trying to go around the concern about the splitting and then not constrain someone that's trying to do a small infill parcel. So yes, if that's what it is, if for residential infill, whichever categories that fits, I think that would be reasonable.
But I think it's triggering a major plan amendment when you're down zoning, when you're getting less than what you're currently allowed. So if the point of our overall of our general plan is to try and increase density, get more infill, making it easier to get less infill seems a little counterintuitive.
I wouldn't be saying that.
So exempting category 1 would be doing that because that's the one that requires, it says decrease in intensity. And so we would want that, I would think we would want that to apply to any size parcel that's coming on.
But this is more complicated once you start getting into all the minutiae.
Do we want to hold off on this one then still to see what staff may be able to create?
I think I think I would prefer to have more time with this than trying to make something on the fly. I know you want to have an answer tonight. I mean, we can kind of fudge through it, but I think if we can just take your direction to explore this, and then if we do not make the change, I guess we will just come back with a clear explanation as to why. And then if we do, we'll have a clear explanation as to why. But I think I feel very uncomfortable with us just making a change
Okay.
on the fly tonight and not thinking through.
Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, I'm feeling like, I know, I feel comfortable making any direction on something like this. I think it is so detailed and set at such a high level. I'm wondering if let's say we passed on this or voted it down, I would imagine that the commenter will probably propose it at council level at that public hearing. And maybe that would give you time to work up alternatives if council expressed interest in, am I correct in assuming that that's how the process would work? That anybody that has made comments that we didn't move forward, they might revisit them at the council public hearing level?
I would assume so. I mean, there's no certainty in that, but I suspect that anyone that's taken the time, especially, I know that the people who made the comment are tracking it, so I suspect they will come back and make that at council. And we might even encourage them to do so, just to make sure that if there is an interest by council, then we can be prepared to have some dialogue.
I know it sounds a little bit like a cop out for us, but it gives everybody more time and, um,
I think we're hearing an interest from you all to explore it, and really kind of put some thought to it, but you understand clearly the complexity of the issues and what we're trying to achieve.
Right.
And
And so I think we can just leave this, if everybody's a thumbs up, to leave this in staff hands. Thumbs up? To leave it in staff hands? Yeah, we've got agreement to leave it in your hands.
so I just want to confirm that doesn't mean that it becomes a condition, one of our conditions. of
No.
Moving it forward. We're just kind of
Leave,
tabling it without voting it down per se. Okay.
yes,
Yeah, I would
All right.
agree. I think you should put tabled as the condition. Like we essentially tabled this one and for council consideration. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
okay. So I need to move back to item, I guess it's 95. It's support core and complementary priorities. Would like to see them treated in a balanced manner, considering complementary priorities as well as core. I thought we had kind of discussed this at our last meeting and that we had said we had given that a thumbs down. Is that correct at the last meeting? Sarah?
We did not discuss this. We discussed a related comment from Commissioner Sharp that we want, and so we did discuss the topic. And I guess this is an example where, so there were several comments that were sent to us to go over in advance that actually seem like they are reconsiderations. So I think staff would like to know how the commission would like to handle those. You know, the board and commission manual says you should probably vote on a reconsideration. Just do we even want to reconsider it? Yes or no before discussion. But we tried to mark whenever there was something that came up from the comments we were emailed in advance that we considered a reconsideration. So if there is not enough thumbs up to rediscuss this, we would leave the discussion from last time in place, which was instead of having the core and complementary, to just make all the priorities evenly balanced and then require that 3 be examined in a plan amendments finding of conformance. That's where you left that conversation.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate what I think I heard you said, Sarah, that we said that we wanted all, my recollection is different. So from what you just, what? So Commissioner Norton?
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you, Chair. And I think this is on here because I had put it on my list, and I wanted to just confirm that, and it seems that we've covered, this gets looped into our one recommendation where we decided that our first preference was that all goals be considered equal. And so I just, I'm fine with whether we vote this up or down or I withdraw it. I feel it is covered. I did want to just kind of call attention to, as Sarah did say, this type of comment was present by many different commenters and stakeholders. So, you know, it was individuals, I hear myself, individuals as well as, you know, F3, Open Space Commission, et cetera. So I'm fine with withdrawing it if that makes it easiest, because I think we covered it, or I think it's looped into our other approval.
All right, so do we want to look at this, or do we want to just say that we've already discussed this in a similar comment and to mirror that?
Yeah, so I
Approval.
think this is already addressed, but this would be in conflict with what we've already stated, because this would be core and complementary, where we're saying they're all equal.
Right, so we've already stated that we wanted to see them all equal so that this complements that. Thumbs up for saying that it refers to comments that we've already discussed and to mirror those comments. All right, that's a thumbs up. Does that make sense, Sarah?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, then we'll move down to, I think it's line 79. Recommend that the plan establish. I think
I
that's
think
supposed
this is
to,
a repeat. This is a slightly different version of the
same thing that we just
of the
talked
same
about.
5-acre comment. Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on from that one to item 80. Revise TS.1 to prioritize accessibility and for the safety of vulnerable, you moved it, road. Where'd it go? Okay, and vulnerable road users as the primary consideration. So it's just saying that. Can somebody read what it currently says?
Yeah, I compared this to how it read in the regional plan, and basically it's just a slight rewording. They're saying, yeah, it's just a slight rewording. It's almost a grammatical correction. I took it as.
Is it errata instead of a?
It says prioritize the safety and accessibility of vulnerable road users and on. They're asking it to say prioritize accessibility for and the safety of vulnerable road users. So it could have been considered an errata. I mean, it's more of a grammatical thing.
Yeah, I think it's just a syntax, and so it could either. I think it could be placed on the errata. I agree, Commissioner Norton.
Okay, so let's put that on the errata. So that the next item, does everybody agree to put that on the errata? Thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Just. All right, moving on to item 81. This says include a definition for vulnerable road users that is more typically used in transportation planning and limited in scope. So I know Martin's on. Martin, if you have anything to say about this.
Well, thank you, Chair Mandino. This was a recommendation from Bike Advisory Committee, and I think it relates to the policy that you were just reading, which is a very powerful statement, and just to make sure that its application is clear and unambiguous.
Any comments from commissioners? Mary?
I just wanted to add in that it was, yes, the Bicycle Advisory Committee as well as FBO's letter provided the official definition. So other community support. So
Any other comments? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Can I just state
Oh, I'm
very
sorry.
quickly, sorry,
Yes.
Commissioner Mandino, that there
Sorry.
is currently, there is, Chair Mandino, there is currently no definition for this term in the plan. And I want to just briefly talk about glossary definitions overall. Some principles
So-
of not letting the
Excuse me
glossary
for a
be-
minute. It's hard for me to hear you. Can you turn the volume up just a little bit?
Should I see, is it crazy loud now or is it okay?
No, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. The glossary currently does not have a definition of this term, but I wanted to take a moment just to talk about the glossary for a second, because there were a lot of commenters who commented and wanted to add things to the glossary. Some rules of thumb for glossary terms is: one, if it has a legal definition in a statute somewhere or in common law, we generally don't define it in the plan glossary because there's a term, it's a term that is known out in the world. Same if we Googled the answer and it came up with the same answer that we would have wanted to put in the glossary. The glossary is not Google, so it we don't always need to necessarily put something in the glossary, but when you put something in the glossary in either a code or the plan, it's that term forever. And if some national definition changes, the plan's definition won't. So it is, that's why there's no staff recommendation. Is fine to add these, but I just wanted to make it clear that if this is a term, correct, that the Federal Highways Administration uses, but if they change that definition in the future, the plan would stay tied to the definition today. So I just want to make sure that's in everyone's mind, and then staff does not necessarily have a recommendation to or not to accept or not accept this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Anybody else have any comments, questions? Commissioner Norton?
yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I think we all accept that things can be redefined along the way in 10-year, 15-year time. I just wanted to mention that this is not only adding what the definition of vulnerable road users as it is officially used, but it also is correcting some minor text references to vulnerable road users when mentioned in the document. So I just wanted to, and maybe that's going to come up in another comment space. But I just wanted to say it's glossary as well as correcting the text where it was defined in the regional plan at its first appearance.
Anybody else have any other comments? Thumbs up or thumbs down? We have 6 thumbs up for this. Okay. So moving on to item 82, prevent inventory, treat and remove invasive plant species. Again, this is I think this is an errata again, if that makes sense, because they're just adding 2 words to this to make it read a little bit different. That's how I read this one.
Yeah.
Chair
they're adding the-
Mandino, we don't consider this one a non-substantive change.
I'm sorry, what?
This one is considered a substantive change.
Okay. So this is considered substantive. Okay, prevent inventory, treat and remove invasive plant species, and preserve native plant communities to preserve indigenous cultural practices and reduce the risk of uncharacteristic wildlife fires.
Yeah, by adding that "and" there, it's instead of just removing invasive plants, we're now preserving native plants. So it's two different things now.
Other comments?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, I added it. This is one that I had put on that I wish to discuss out of the several that was made by this commenter. I only moved two of them forward, and they were adding the word in "and native." Um, I think that was really the only addition. Um, and removing the and what I noticed is very recently the Flagstaff city government itself and Mayor Becky Daggett just did a special media video on the importance of using native plants in Flagstaff. So I really felt like this was very much in alignment with where the city was going and what they were putting out on their information and social media, et cetera. So that's why I was supportive of putting in native or mentioning the use of native plants in these two instances.
Other comments?
Can I explain the staff
Yes.
comment, Chairman Dina?
Yes.
Thank you. So staff's opinion on this comment is the terms preserve native plants is too broad in the context of a land use plan. Because every single development activity removes native plant communities when we are grading or building a road or a foundation. There's almost no development activity that could meet this policy if we changed it as it is suggested. Language about rare plant communities or landscaping with native plants would be different. But this is so broad as it could be interpreted as only allowing development where there are not native plant communities. So we did not find this, we found this to be a substantive change. If there's a desire to have some separate policy about native plant communities, but trying to insert it where we discuss invasives is the way it is suggested to be inserted could create a misinterpretation that would be very broad in its application.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns?
Yeah,
I
I
would,
just have, I just want to
Commissioner
make
Sheehy?
I just want to make one comment. I've been involved in projects and, people have been doing the general plans now for decades. And and exactly what staff is talking about. You try to do a project, someone comes in and says, wait a minute, you violate this. And these things now are referable, correct? If I understand general plans, so these are referable item, like a zoning case. Where did I read that? If somebody, I thought that was kind of surprising, but as we go through all these words, if you're in a major case, a major development, it's highly controversial. This is the stuff that causes lots of problems, and I know that firsthand. And I've had to process general plan amendments when I didn't even need one legally. So it causes projects to not go forward, projects to be canceled, things that you might want. So like we talked about before, these words do matter. So, I would lean more towards staff. We don't want to create these legal potential problems when we're trying to do more responsible development, other projects. People will nitpick this whole document and come up with all these weird things. Trust me, it's happened and it's very expensive.
Commissioner Sharp?
she said everything I would say. I agree 100%. It's an overreach and unnecessary.
All right, so thumbs up, thumbs down. 6 thumbs down. Moving to item 75. Add accessible to goal DP, support attainable, accessible housing. And again, this might be the same type of thing, but I will refer to staff if you want to make a comment on this. Sarah, do you have a comment?
Sorry, I was trying to get back to the screen. I didn't read what was in the spreadsheet. Lauren, did we have a staff recommendation on this one?
No, there was no staff recommendation.
Then I think we did not find these worms necessarily problematic, but we did not think they added much to it either. So I think it's up to the commission. We tried to be conservative about how many adjectives we put in one place in the plan, but it's a discussion item for certain.
Can we go back to the spreadsheet? Mine hasn't changed yet. Isn't it? Okay, there we go. Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, sorry, I was one that elevated this. There were a lot by this commenter. And as I went through I understand what they're trying to do. They want to have some emphasis and mention and I lost my word that I was going to use, but, highlight that accessibility for the disabled or community is needed, and they want a little more representation in some of the verbiage. And so I found a couple areas where I thought, staff, you didn't have a recommendation, they didn't oppose it, that I felt that I could support adding accessibility focus into some of these areas within the plan. So this was one of them.
Anybody else have a comment? Can we look at those all together, which ones they would be? So we don't have to go through them separately? Are you? So we have item 84, I think 86, 87.
Chairman Dino,
Yes.
Are you looking for everything from Russell Randall that's been moved to the holding space, or everything that?
I'm only looking at things that would be kind of similar to this comment. Not everything that Russell Randall did, but the ones where there was no staff recommendation of adding the words. Does that make sense? That's why I was like picking and choosing which ones they would be. Does that, or would you rather us go through those separately?
Well, we could sort what's currently in the holding space from Russell Randall, and that would be everything that one of the commissioners has already moved over, and then we could move to the other tab and sort by Russell Randall, but they're in two different sections right now based on the ones that commissioners have selected out. So we can't look at all of them as a group.
So do we want to just go through them one by one? Is that easier? Okay, it's easier. All right, so this one was add accessible to goal DP, support attainable accessible housing. Yes, Commissioner Sharp.
So accessibility is all over the federal law. How does this change anything? The federal law already dictates how we provide accessibility as far as engineering practices, all these different things that we do. I think this is unnecessary. I don't see the purpose of this.
If I can, Commissioner Sharp, I would agree. I mean, that's to Sarah's point. That's why we didn't recommend any language, because it doesn't add anything. There's already federal law that dictates when you have to have accessible units. And so it's already going to be incorporated into all development.
So I think I'm going to downvote it, and it's not because I'm against accessibility. It's just, it's unnecessary.
All right, then do we want to take a thumbs up, thumbs down? in the middle, but we have 2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down, 1 abstained. So it looks like a no. All right, and then we have a comment. Again, this relates to the vote on number 64. It says under core priorities, open space integration must be prioritized. So we had taken the prioritization away. So, and had all core principles. So priorities rather. How do you want to, do we want to thumbs up, thumbs down? Do we need to consider this more? Sarah, do you have a comment? I don't see your hand up.
Chairman Dino, I think I am not sure who brought this one forward. I found this comment a little confusing because I do not know if it means they want open space to be shown as a separate priority or that they want each priority, the commenter, Mr. Schrag, that if he wants each priority to have something about open space in it. So I find this an unclear comment, but maybe the person who brought it forward might express how they interpreted the comment and understand what it means.
Is Miles Schrag online right now? No, so we can't get that.
Yeah, so I don't know, the commissioner that wanted number 101 to come forward might have a thought here. So is what I meant to say.
Okay, did somebody look at moving that one forward?
I believe this was me. I'm looking for my comments because I've got a couple different lists here, and as of item numbers have been renumbered, it's difficult for me to cross-reference on the fly. However, I think this was one I just wanted to highlight, and what I was going to comment here was when there was similar themed comments, where for instance, this one, open space integration and prioritization. We had other things that we talked about previously that came from FQ, Open Space Commission. It would have been really helpful to discuss these things all together so we could see the community support from how many commenters and people that, we have some really experienced, a wealth of knowledge in our community by some of these people who don't always say who they're with or who they work for or what research they've done. But I'm just saying we have a wealth of information and the people that have commented, I just wanted to, give some voice to that. And I wish we had been able to be a little more detailed and in depth and just given a little bit more, not weight, but thoroughly review some of these comments. I felt very rushed the last session. I felt that we kind of plowed through some that maybe we could have had a better understanding on had we known how many other people also had similar themed items. So I can pull this one, but that was my purpose of wanting it to at least be on the list for tonight.
So while I give some credit to how many people may have commented on this, I don't know that that holds that we have to go back and reconsider that. But, because it could be that everyone from Open Space Commission made a separate comment on top of Open Space Commission. I'm not saying that they did, but that could have been what it was. So the weight of that doesn't, to me, makes no difference. But I think that I'm going to open it up for other comments at this point. No other comments? A thumbs up, thumbs down? So I see 1 thumbs up and everybody else is thumbs down. All right. sorry. So the next comment is be specific about meaningful connecting to the JWP area, including the Little America property, to the rest of the city, as it is a critical connection point from all directions for a number of critical regional systems. I'm going to let you read the rest. I'm not going to read it all out loud. Staff has written the final disposition of roads within the blue area will require transportation analysis and a better understanding of future land use proposals in the area. The area has difficult terrain and floodplain issues. So any more comments from staff is what I'd like to hear from first.
Chairman Dino, I'd ask that the transportation staff maybe speak to this one a little. I know we've had a lot of conversations about the terrain and land use patterns within John Wesley Powell having a lot of unknowns at this time, and that's part of the rationale for the map, which I'll pull up while transportation staff gets ready to speak.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, my name's Stephanie Santana. I'm a transportation engineer here at the city. I think Sarah summarized it very well here in her comment. This will all be studied in a master TA when that development comes to fruition. And I think we made the decision to keep that blue bubble for the time being.
Any other comments from commissioners? Hearing and seeing none. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Chair Mandino. This is Martin Ince with the transportation section. When I read that comment, I don't think they're talking about roads. I think they're talking about canyons, riparian areas, greenways, foot trails, and other connectivity. I don't see roads referenced anywhere in that comment.
Martin, the fuller, please know that's just a snippet of the comment. The fuller comment does mention the roads.
Are we ready for a thumbs up, thumbs down? All right, commissioners. I'm saying thumbs down, 6 thumbs down, sorry. Next, we have 4 comments, but we'll start one by one from Russell Randall. One is update first guideline under parks. And it says to create central, accessible, and activated public spaces. I don't know what it currently says. It says unclear from staff. It says, sorry, no, there was no staff recommendation. I'm sorry. And Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, this was one that just added the word accessible with regard to guidelines for parks.
Chairman Dino, it only added the word accessible for parks on this page 4-16, which is the urban centers land use category. Just to be clear, this is the language where you would add accessible if you wanted to vote in favor of this item.
If I can, just kind of borrowing from Commissioner Sheehy, words matter. Accessible means different things to different people. I think in the spirit of this commenter probably meant ADA accessible, but accessible could also mean accessible to everybody in the community, that it's open to them. So I think if we're going to add that, I'm not sure that it's a necessary word to add, kind of going back to previous conversations about, we already are requirements about ADA even in our parks. And I do see that Rebecca Sayers is online and maybe she can speak more to this, but if you do add that word, I would be very specific about what you mean by accessible.
Okay, so who is that online?
Rebecca Sayers, our pros are Parks Rec, open space and events, and I just wanted an opportunity to say that entirely for pros. The director is online, and if she has any definition for, or can speak to already the requirements for parks and ADA accessibility.
Okay, Rebecca?
Hi, everyone. Rebecca Sayers. I don't need to repeat it. Yes, all of our park spaces are required to be accessible, similar to any other public spaces or code requirements for building safety and accessibility. So I agree with the staff commentary so far.
All right, so commissioners, any other comments? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Got 6 thumbs down. We'll move on to the next item. I believe was also from Russell.
It's just added the word inclusive to verbiage that was already there.
Yeah, it hasn't come up on my computer yet. Let me go look at my Excel spreadsheet. Oh,
Michelle, could you address if there's like similar legal definition issues with the word inclusive?
I can't, I don't believe that it is defined in the regional plan. I don't know. I know our attorney is online. I don't know if there's a legal definition for inclusive, but that would be a very hard thing to enforce. I mean, if it's open, I guess again, it kind of goes back to what was the intent of that? I mean, inclusive to me means that it's open to the public. If we're making it, it's being designed appropriately, that everybody is able to enjoy it. So it seems like an unnecessary word without knowing furthermore kind of what the intent from the commenter was. And I don't know if Russell's online.
I kind of wrote in my notes, is it needed in the plan? So I don't know that it's needed in the plan. Mary, did you want to say anything else?
No, I'm glad we had the discussion.
All right, thumbs up, thumbs down? 6 thumbs down. All right. Now we're at add a new guideline under mix and location of uses. I should make sure I'm not on the. Was that the one that I'm on? What line is that? I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back to the Excel spreadsheet I had up.
It's number 88. It's line 88.
Okay, I'm in the wrong place. Line 88, add a new guideline under mix and location of uses stating considerable universally designed structures for urban, suburban, and rural neighborhoods. Staff has comments of topography and Flagstaff and the limitations of grading sites in the zoning code to retain natural terrain would make implementation of universally designed structures in all neighborhoods challenging. So, yes, Commissioner Norton.
When I saw this one and I looked in the regional plan where he was talking about, and he wanted it in each of those sections, it almost seemed like it would have been a better fit on those pages to be put into design and other considerations, if necessary. I mean, if we agree that it's a valid line to add, it seems like it actually should go in that other little section.
I would agree. I know Sarah's online, and then I think maybe adding when possible or something that kind of qualifies that it's not, we want to aim for that, but it might not always be possible in every situation.
Does the word consider create that kind of a thought?
Yeah, Sarah, are you okay with the word consider? She's the word police.
it's not a word I would use in a guideline. I'll say that. Because guidelines are generally things you should do. It's like saying, would we consider commercial uses? Yes, of course. Like we consider anything that meets the guidelines in any of those area types. So it seems I struggle with this one because it's asking for something positive, of course, but it is obviously something that would be considered in any of those areas. And I worry that the language might accidentally, much like we were talking about before, get misinterpreted as if something is not universally designed, then it might not be considered. Like it could get, it's worded in a way that I don't know would be easy to prevent misinterpretation of in the future. So I guess that's just a unknown.
And to me, it says add a new guideline. I'm not sure that it's needed as a guideline. That's because if it's in as a guideline, then you do have to consider it, right? So it's not consider or not consider, it's just consider. And then it makes it that you have to consider that. So any other comments? Thumbs up, thumbs down? We've got 6 thumbs down. Next is item, I don't know what we're, 79 or 89, I don't know which. Anyhow, under great streets and gateways, update the second sentence to pulse of civic activity creates a sense of place for all and Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, so this added the verbiage creates a sense of place for all. And I'll use this opportunity to say sometimes in our spreadsheets, the spreadsheet, it says exactly what the new word is or the new verbiage is. And sometimes it doesn't. So we don't always know exactly what we're voting on. And then not for us here, but maybe as this process moves forward to council to make sure it's highlighted exactly what's asking to be added or changed or flipped or et cetera. I think that would make it the process easier to understand.
Any other comments? Thumbs up, thumbs down? We have 1 thumbs up, 5 thumbs down. For some reason, my computer is slower than others. Do you want to read the next one, Commissioner Norton?
Sure, this is line 88. Add a new guideline under mix and location of uses stating, quote, consider usually, I'm sorry, obviously my computer is slow to move as well. I think we're talking about the great streets, am I right? No.
So
Go
include the
ahead,
most,
I'm not moving any faster.
include the most robust representation of trails, both foots and surrounding Forest Service and county systems. And I'm unclear where that would be, as well as staff was saying that it was unclear what steps will be. And that it related to the vote on comment number 11. So Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, that's kind of why I brought this forward too, because I was unclear in the vote that we did on number 11, where it was an F cube comment, add clarity to trail alignments for properties over 400 acres. And so I'm unclear, like, what that means, what is the end result? Because again, this was one area that there were many comments. And I just want to make sure what we were actually asking the revision to be. And did we cover some of these other little slightly different comments in our vote?
Any other comments from the commissioners or staff?
Chair?
Yes.
I think when we talked about it, we had agreed that the 400 acres didn't have much relevance as to why that was important. I do remember that part. And, but, you know, I don't know how much clarity you can put on a general plan if you don't have a specific plan or a drawing to go with the site. And I thought some of the comments allowing that to happen through the planning process, more specific locations of trails would be acceptable. But maybe I got that wrong.
Chairman Dino,
Yes.
staff has already requested a map that that shows what number 11 would look like be created. And I think Elsa is trying to get that pulled up. If you just wait a moment while she's finding the file.
Thank you.
Can you all see the map on your screen now?
Yeah, some of us do, some of us don't. There. Do you all have it? No, still not yet, but it's in front of us.
This would be, as it's coming up, I'll just describe it. This would be the map of how staff interpreted the direction received on number 11.
So what does this comment add to that? How would this comment affect the map that we just have in front of us?
Staff is unclear on that.
Okay, because I'm not clear on it either. So, Commissioner Norton?
I suppose if this is the most, quote, robust representation of trails, we're covered. Just, thank you.
All right, do we want to do a thumbs up, thumbs down? We have,
Well, I guess we don't need it. I'm sorry.
we have 5 thumbs down because one commissioner left to take a break, a needed break. So we still have a quorum. Okay, thank you. Because, yeah, okay. Add clear labeling for all segments of the Arizona National Scenic Trail and Flagstaff Loop trails. And staff comment was, could be updated if we check easements. Is this?
We did
again, we're-
also prepare a version of what the map could look like if you wanted to move this forward or not. We've not had enough time to see if there would be any easement overlap issues with this, Chairman Dino. And so we just kind of came up with a solution of leaving the easement data as is, but showing it as a buffer on the version of the last map you saw. But if you give Elsa a second, I know she's pulling up different files right now as we're working. So just give us a moment to put the right thing on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Norton, well, that's
Thanks.
coming up.
I just wanted to add, so when I was working from the list of the first iteration of comments that were in our to be considered holding space, the comment was first by staff. Staff agrees this can be updated. So obviously that's what you've done a mock-up of, or what it would look like. So I'm the one that put this on the list just to make sure that it did move forward for us to consider and didn't get lost in translation.
Does staff have a comment about this now that we have the map in front of us?
I think we think this is possible to display if it's helpful, but I think you can see that the fact that the regional and the urban map sort of show a different set of trails, it would create some universality between the two if you wanted us to add this. They are already designated trails either by ordinance or by legislation. And so we would leave it up to you if you think this is a necessary or helpful piece of information to show on the map. The one thing we haven't added to either of these maps is the access points that we discussed last time. We still need to add the planned access, like triangles to these maps, just for context.
Thank you. Any other comments, Commissioner Norton?
Sarah, just clarification, when you say access, you mean forest access points? Is that what you were referring to?
Yes, Commissioner Norton.
Thank you.
All right, are we ready for a thumbs up, thumbs down? 5 thumbs down, 1 thumbs up. Moving to the next item. This is if the map shows any illegally built, AKA unauthorized trails, these should be removed. Otherwise, the implication is that these trails are part of the regional plan and are authorized and open for legal use. Most of these trails are likely on U.S. Forest Service land. Staff recommends a disclaimer be created for the map, and an interactive map can be created with more details, but names would not be visible on this scale. I would probably agree with that, but Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, and I think this went along with other comment, or both in person and in written form by Mike Popejoy. So I know we heard, I think Martin talk about it when we were at the Aquaplex. I just want to make sure we loop back and covered this appropriately. And I appreciate staff's recommendation that maybe something could be added as a disclaimer that might serve the purpose. Thanks.
Sarah?
I think so the 3 comments, it's not just this comment, but the next 3 next 2 kind of all go together. And I know we just switched to the other one, but the Forest Service's letter that is mentioned in Mr. Popejoy's comment actually states that the Forest Service determined that all of these trails on the regional trails map and plan conform to the forest plan. So that's what the letter determined. And then it makes a comment that authorizing construction of trails or improvements to trails requires additional NEPA and environmental analysis. At the time, the federal regulations require that sometimes could be like an elevated EA, which is a mid-level type of environmental analysis. But now all federal agencies have a categorical exclusion for trail construction. And so it is a much lower level of analysis than when the Flagstaff Trails Initiative work was being undertaken. For more context.
Anybody have any other comment? Do we want to look at all 3 of these together or vote? Okay, all 3 of them together. So that would be items, I don't know what number I'm looking at, 92, 93, 94. Do we all agree? I'm going to ask this a little bit differently, that the staff recommendation of a disclaimer be created. So a thumbs up for the staff recommendation of disclaimer. So we have 6 thumbs up. So we'll do that on all 3 of those. So then that brings us up to item number 95, which says add mention of mental health facilities, including the Guidance Center, Southwest Behavioral Health, and Teros. And I'm not sure where that's being recommended. Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, I'm the one that brought this up, and I know we talked about how some things can change names. However, there were all of the other entities that provide healthcare services were also named in the document. So it was more of, is that, it was almost like a double standard, and I just wanted to address that.
So hopefully that'll come up on our computers really soon. It's not on mine yet. Okay, so if you'll give us a minute to read the statement. Any other comments from commissioners? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I would just agree with that. I mean, I didn't realize they were all listed here, so if you're gonna list some, you should include them all, I think. That we know, I don't know.
Any other comments? Thumbs
I'd be
up?
curious.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm curious why we include all these. If elsewhere we've tried to exclude things, I wonder how that got into here. But I guess for consistency's sake, I would say let's just include everything.
So my comment is down the road, if Sacred Pete's Health Center closes or Naka Center closes, yeah, why are we listing all of these rather than not listing them in case that happens? Like, rather
Chairman
than
Dino,
yes.
this is a background section, so this is a portion of the plan that can be updated administratively using our new administrative change procedures. So if Sacred Peaks is renamed something else and we were doing another update to this page, we could just strike it and replace the name.
Okay, thank you for adding that, because then that makes a difference to how I feel about it. So anybody else have a comment? Thumbs up, thumbs down? I can't see your thumb. 6 thumbs up. Okay, next is to, again, from Russell Randall. In the second paragraph, revise fourth sentence to children, Hispanic, Black, and Native American populations, as well as members of the disability community suffer from. So I think it's adding disability community. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman Dino. And we put no staff recommendation for this one, but I've since looked at the original source material. If you see that little number 27, which is discussing this survey, the survey did not survey on people who are disabled and experiencing food insecurity in this context. So while it might be true, it is not true to the source material for this paragraph.
Thank you for adding that, because that makes a difference. If it's not included in the survey, it probably shouldn't be included in the statement. Thumbs up, thumbs down? We have 6 thumbs down.
A good topic for future surveys.
All right, now we're in the next item is to continue to partner with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in facilitating the quote mainstream vouchers program, assisting non-elderly persons with disabilities to achieve housing stability. I'm wondering if that's one of those things that's a given already when Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to know, just to verify, because it does say continue to. So is that something we're already doing? However, at the end, there was this suggestion of adding it as a long-term action item. So I just wanted some clarification on that.
Commissioner Norton,
Sarah?
I don't see anyone from housing on the meeting today. They might not have been able to make the additional meeting time. We can certainly follow up on that. I mean, I do not believe there's any federally available voucher program that we would not or do not take advantage of given our housing emergency. So in terms of both line 97 and 98, I would have to follow up before using those programs specifically, but I know that our housing staff is exhausting every option they can to make housing available in Flagstaff. If we're not using it, there may be a reason like we don't qualify, we're not big enough a city, or we're too big a city, or things along those lines.
Thanks for explaining.
I think it's too specific to mention a specific voucher, a specific grant or whatnot. It's unnecessary.
Anybody else? Thumbs up, thumbs down? We have 6 thumbs down. Going to the next item, add action item, continue. Again, this is very similar. Continue to partner with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in funding and facilitating permanent supportive housing, providing housing assistance and supportive services to households with at least one member with a disability. I think it's along the same lines, thumbs up, thumbs down. We've got 6 thumbs down. And then the next item under housing insecurity, add a statement such as, this is likely to be especially true among members of the community who identify as having disabilities. Again, I'm not sure that this is needed, but any staff or any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Norton?
I put this on there and it wasn't part of that survey, and I felt it used the knowledge of the, this commenter to add to other reasons of housing insecurity. I thought it was valuable.
If I may, Chairman Dino, I don't think
Yes.
that this paragraph is citing anything in particular. It just, the purpose of the paragraph is just to state that there's a statutory requirement to identify areas of slum and blight in the community, and we determined that there's no areas we would like to identify as slum or blight in Flagstaff. The additional information is not, we don't disagree with it. It's just, and whether you want it in this paragraph or not is up to the commission.
Any other comments from commissioners? Thumbs up, thumbs down? We've got 1 thumbs up and 5 thumbs down. The next was revised first sentence, housing insecurity can include, to add lack of ADA compliant accessible housing. Any comments?
This was one that I elevated. I'll just add that, I thought that was a valuable addition to the reason that some people experience housing insecurity. If we were going to make a list, I felt that it was important to include that population.
Any staff comment?
No, Chairman Dino, we don't disagree that that is a reason people experience housing instability.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? I would give it a thumbs up. We have 3, 1, 2, 3 thumbs down and 3 thumbs up. So I guess the council can decide on that one. Sorry, it hasn't come up on my computer yet, but hopefully it will. Okay, so the next item was revise 13th regular action item to safe, functional, and accessible for all users. And Commissioner Norton?
I'll just add clarification. This added the word "and" accessible, similar to our previous discussions.
Any other comments? Does this change any? Yes.
If I
Sarah?
may, I'll put it up on the screen. This does add a small redundancy, and so you may, oh good, Lauren's got it up. If you could go to the one, it's the one that says fund, maintain streets, pedestrian paths, bikeways, crossings, and foot trails in good condition and free of snow, debris, obstructions, so they are safe and functional for all users. And then it says, regardless of transportation mode or ability. So the ability covers the accessibility part. I believe this is primarily a mirror of the language in the active transportation master plan. So I think if you added safe and accessible, you would take off or ability because it says it twice.
But again, is accessible a good word to use, or is ability a better use? Any comment from staff on that?
Martinez, I don't know if you have an opinion on the wording from your experience with PAC and PAC.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, I think what you said makes sense. That seems reasonable to me.
And Martin, this is Michelle. Do you see a difference between the word accessible versus ability? I guess maybe another way of framing the question is it currently reads regardless of transportation mode or ability. And from your experience, does that cover also people with maybe different accessibility issues?
I believe it covers it, yes. That would be my interpretation.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you for that. Are we ready to do thumbs up, thumbs down? All right, please display your thumbs. We've got six thumbs down. Next is in the last paragraph following the first sentence, add some of these trails are accessible to individuals with mobility challenges or other disabilities. My question would be, is there any way, because that just says some of these trails, but it doesn't identify them, so it's really doesn't, to me, add anything unless there's, we could add that a disclaimer. We could add some type of triangle for accessible trails, something to show accessible trails. That I don't know that adding some of the trails are accessible would achieve what we need instead of looking at the map and somehow showing which are accessible. Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, when I read this one, I took it as more of a positive. They were talking about our trails, and it was kind of a plug that some of our trails are accessible to those with mobility challenges and other disabilities. Is it worthwhile? Does it add something? That's for us to vote on, I guess.
I guess to me that just adding it to the language doesn't help anybody who's trying to find those accessible trails. So adding that language doesn't seem to help unless we were to mark which trails are accessible, but that would be this date and time. And, so any staff comments about that?
I'm not sure that's what the regional plan's purpose is as a trail guide. So.
Right. And some of these comments, that's how I've kind of felt is when we're talking about the trails is that this isn't a trail guide. We are not publishing this as a trail guide, but, and I don't think just adding those words are, I mean, it is a positive statement, but I don't know that it changes the plan in any way, shape, or form. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I think we've got 1 thumbs up and 5 thumbs down. Oh, 6 thumbs down. All right, so that was six thumbs down. My only other comment is that that screen down low, you guys need to replace that screen. I have, yeah, believe me, I have an eye doctor appointment because of this. It has, I mean, I do have something wrong with my eyes, but this pronounced it to make me know that I really had a problem. Sorry. Okay. Revise first sentence to providing enhanced universally designed and grade separated crossings. Again, I want to defer to staff. Does this make a difference in the plan?
Commissioner Norton, I think is the one who brought this up. I think it's important to see this one because what you can see is the term enhanced crossing and grade separated crossings are actually specific terms defined in our glossary. Adding universally designed in the location recommended doesn't actually make sense because it doesn't modify this sentence correctly. I'm going to get really grammar geeky. I'm sorry. If you wanted to change it, it should say something like providing universally designed, enhanced, and grade separated crossings. But again, I'll remind you, this is the background section, and I don't know that we have data that says these are always universally designed. Sometimes there's a lot of different constraints. I don't know if we know how to define that. So it's a modifier that I'm not sure is necessary. And it's certainly not in the right place in the sentence as recommended by the commenter.
Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, just to clarify, so the next two I put on there and I said either or, I thought they should be considered in tandem and not both. So, I think we should vote on them or look at them at the same point. If we're going to vote, if we're not going to add this type of verbiage, then, it would be a no on both.
So can you read the second one?
Yeah, so the second one was revise the third sentence to quote, combinations of universally designed enhanced crossing treatments. It would have been too duplicative to have both of his comments implemented because the one that we're reading right now says revise the first sentence to providing enhanced universally designed and grade separated crossings. So I would have been supportive of one or the other if we were to want to add such verbiage.
So it sounds like we're not sure that it's a universal design. So or can we vote on both of these together? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We've got 6 thumbs down. Thank you. Again, from Russell Randall, and we only have, I think, 2 more from Russell Randall. Oh, okay. Under safety and convenience, revise the first sentence to vulnerable road users, people who walk, ride, roll, and use transit, and people with disabilities. So I'm assuming it's adding and people with disabilities. Is that correct? Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, this was another commenter that wanted us to use the official definition of vulnerable road users, which was supported by FBO and the advisory committee. So it was just cleaning up the verbiage to match that.
So that's,
Which I believe we voted to move forward on, or to adopt, have them use the official definition of a vulnerable road user, correct?
that was in the glossary, is that correct?
Yes, Chairman Dino. It was in addition to the glossary that we discussed in the 80s of the comments we were looking at.
And so we voted to add that in the glossary. So these two next ones, I believe, are both relating to that. Is that correct? Because I don't have them. Are both of them relating to the same, to the glossary, both comments?
Can we pull back up the table again?
The first comment is to add the term here in this sentence. And then the second one is a repeat of adding it to the glossary, which you've already voted on. So the first comment is to here after transit add and people with disabilities was where we started. And then the next one is a
Okay.
repeat of adding to the glossary.
So the first one says just says to improve infrastructure for vulnerable road users, people who walk, ride, roll, and use transit. Now I could see where the insert of, I think it was people with disabilities would go
Yes,
there.
and people with disabilities.
Okay, Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, I think what we want is just a consistent usage of the word vulnerable road users and a consistent definition. So wherever it appears, I would think that's where we would want to be consistent.
Are any other commissioners? Thumbs up, thumbs down on this one. We'll do a thumbs up or thumbs down. So on the one, on this particular
I'm not sure
one
what to vote
about
for. I'm voting for that. I
the
want
one-
to use the official definition of a vulnerable road use.
So I'm looking at, are we, to add no, wait, where is it?
Yeah, it's line 106, number 90.
90. So
Yeah,
under
so-
safety and convenience, revise the first sentence to vulnerable road users, people who walk, ride, roll, and use transit, and people with disabilities. And I have no problem with adding that on there, given what Mary has said, but Mary, you have a comment?
Yeah, now that I compare what FBO has written on with a quote of what the actual definition is, it does differ than what Russell Randall is. So I'm thinking we need to vote no on Russell Randall's comment and utilize FBO's comment where there is the proper definition of the official definition of what a vulnerable road user is per the federal highway, whatever that acronym stands for.
Staff, do you have a comment on this at all?
I don't know that planning staff does. I asked the city engineer, Paul Mood, and his staff maybe if they have thoughts. This seems more transportation technical than I could comment on.
Okay, and nobody from transportation is here, is that right? Or, oh, Paul?
Paul and I think Stephanie Santana are both
Okay,
here from
so if you
transportation.
could comment on these. Don't fight over who's going to comment first.
No, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, Mary.
We want to make sure, or we want to confirm that staff would be in agreement to using the official definition of a vulnerable road user per FHWA in all instances.
I'd have to look at that and, because I know, I want to make sure it matches the definition of vulnerable road user that's in the Metro Plan vulnerable road user study. I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure they match.
Thank you.
So how do we want to move forward with this? Wait until we see that definition or let the council look at that definition, or whether or not you can provide that by the end of the meeting?
Could this
Yeah, I
become
can,
on the rod?
yeah,
I'm
I
sorry,
can try
what?
looking it up. I can try looking it up.
Okay, thank you. So
thanks.
let's take a 5-minute break. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. That gives us till 6. I think we're ready to come back together again. During our break, did staff find anything out about FHWA? Or shall we move forward and still wait? Let's move forward. Okay.
Let's move forward, and I think you can always, and I'll defer to staff, but I would think you could make a suggestion just to coordinate the definition
Okay.
and not get specific about what that
That's-
definition is.
Okay, so let's go with Alex's suggestion of coordinate the definition. Thumbs up. 6 thumbs up.
Could it become an errata issue? If you're just clarifying a definition, could it even be moved to an errata thing? The errata list, I wonder. It makes it more simplified off of our list.
I mean, I tend to be a minimalist to a fault. And so in my world, I would define it once and then not have all the additional words trailing after it throughout the document.
I agree. So, and I think that's what we just agreed upon. Okay. So those would be for,
Could I ask a point of clarification? So the vote was for line 10796 to add to the glossary, but coordinate the definition. There is also a suggestion in there to add to clarify the existing in-text definitions. So I think
we were just asking to add that to the glossary. That's how I viewed it? Is that correct? Alex, is that what your suggestion was?
I'll defer to Sarah. I know she has guidelines about what gets defined, what she wants to define in the glossary.
Okay.
I think the other option is to the first time it's referenced in the document to define it there and then consistently use that term.
Okay. So Sarah, we had agreed that it would be consistent, and to me, however you want to do that is fine. But I'll let you
Yes, I
speak.
think, oh no, that's fine, Chairman Dino. So I think Paul Mood, who's looking up the definition, found that the federal highways definition is highly technical. I think a lot of language we did use, I was looking at the Metro Plan version 2, and so Paul can chime in here. I think we were more mirroring the Metro Plan definition in what we were trying to write in the plan. So it just helped. And I think the difference between the two is, do we want vulnerable road user to be in a very plain English definition or a highly technical definition? This is not necessarily the document I would go looking for a technical definition. It's the one I would think would lean more plain English. So for instance, Paul's put it in the chat so I can read it out to you. The federal highways definition is, and you might get lost in the middle of this, so take a deep breath. A vulnerable road user is a non-motorist with a fatality analysis reporting system person, attribute code for bicyclists, pedestrian, other cyclists, and person on personal conveyance, or an injured person that is or is equivalent to a pedestrian or pedicyclist as defined by ANSI D 16.1-2007, and then it references US code and CFRs, includes highway workers on foot in a work zone given they are considered a pedestrian, and does not include a motorcyclist. Where the Metro Plan definition states that vulnerable road users are identified as people who walk, bicycle, scooter, or use mobility devices, and are defined as vulnerable with regard to their degree of protection in traffic or their degree of mobility, such as the young, the elderly, and people with disabilities or special needs. So I think
I'm going to say, I think what we agreed to is that, to me, staff would go with one definition and you define that and use it throughout. Does that sound all right? Commissioner
I think
Norton?
Sarah was maybe going to read what Martin also wrote. Do you want to add
yeah,
to
there's
that?
there's a third definition that says, and Martin can chime in after that says the Federal Highway Administration on their website, not in their technical guide, defines a vulnerable road user as people on public roadways who are not enclosed vehicles such as pedestrian, bicyclists. And this one includes motorcyclists, even though the technical definition is not, and users of mobility aids. Due to the lack of protective vehicle shell, these individuals are at higher risk of severe injury or fatality in a collision with a motor vehicle. So my sum is, I think that there are multiple definitions of the term vulnerable road user. That may mean it is to our benefit to determine which one we mean in this document. And you might just refer it to staff to come up with a recommendation of which of these 3 or 4 definitions we'd like to propose to council. But that we have identified the need for clarity in the definition. We want to define it once and move on, but it might not be what, when Mr. Randall suggests FHWA, it's clear that there's possibly 2 FHAWA definitions, one of which includes users of mobility aids and motorcyclists, and one of which may not. So it's a more complicated thing than I was ready to weigh into. So thank you to my transportation partners for putting the context together on the fly.
So do we want to agree on which one we feel is more appropriate? No? We'll let the staff hash that out. I do. Okay. Let me go over here and whoever, Martin.
I would say, Chairman Dino, whatever you decide now, I am going to assume, staff is going to assume amends any previous discussion or motion you've had on it, just to clear up. Because I think you made a motion earlier about adopting the FHWA one, and now that we've gotten further into conversation, you may want to just reconsider all of the related
I think
comments.
our vote was whichever, that we would want to adopt one consecutive definition and use that one definite definition. We didn't decide which definition we would use. So I know Martin had his hand up. Martin.
Well, thank you, Chair Mandino. I apologize for belaboring the point, but this seems important for a moment. It feels like there are 2 kind of flavors of the definition for vulnerable users. One is based on the idea that people who are outside of hard metal protective shell, like outside of a car, are vulnerable because they're more at risk of injury. They have no protection around them. The second version seems to get at more social things, and this is a perfectly valid point. We know that members of different groups feel disproportionate impacts of transportation policy. But I think if we think about including them in the definition of vulnerable road users, then we think about what you're really saying is that if somebody is young, elderly, people with disabilities or special needs, and they're in a car, they're still considered as vulnerable users, even though they're in a vehicle at that point. And I think that significantly changes the potential definition, and it may change how we look at or interpret that the policy that refers to prioritizing the needs for vulnerable users. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So if I'm looking at, I'm looking at the last 2, vulnerable road users as identified by the Metro Plan and then the Federal Highway Administration. And Martin, what you're saying is that in the Metro Plan, you're identifying people who are still in a vehicle that is covered by metal, that there would still be vulnerable users in that as the young, and I'm assuming those that are in, I don't know how you define young. I would, to me, that would be people in car seats or car boosters, the elderly and people with disabilities or special needs. And in the other, it's in the Federal Highway Administration, it's those that are lacking a protection of vehicle shell, and including pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and users of mobility aids, which would be something like a wheelchair, if I'm reading that correctly. So those are the two that, do we want to make a determination or do we want staff to make that determination? So all those for staff making the determination, thumbs up. Great. We have 6 that say staff can do that. And then make that clear that it's on every, or that's the, like Alex said, we write it once and then that we just assume that that is consistent throughout. Okay. And I think that covers item 107 and 108, which are, is that correct? Yeah, okay. So we'll move down to,
Sorry, Chair Mandino. So we actually skipped number 105 and you had deferred a vote on 106 until you had decided on 107. 106 was the add and people with disabilities. And Commissioner Norton had made it sound like it was an either or. So it sounds like you've most likely are voting not to do that, but we haven't actually had a vote on 106.
Okay, thank you. So if we want to go back to 106, to me, that was part of this. So should we, so under 106, it said, thank you, under safety and convenience, revise the first sentence to vulnerable road users, people who walk, ride, roll, and use transit, and people with disabilities. And if we're, that's a little, I guess that's a vulnerable road user. So adding that to the glossary and not changing that statement there. Is that how we want to vote on this? To add it to the glossary like we're doing in the next 2 items. Commissioner Norton?
Yeah, I think he was expanding the definition of vulnerable road user, and we're back to trying to be consistent. So we really, his suggestion wasn't consistent with any of the other definitions that we heard. So I think we need to vote no on this one to close this out and allow vulnerable road user to be defined per our other discussion by staff and carried out consistently throughout the document where applicable.
Okay, those who on that suggestion, thumbs up for, that's thumbs up for her suggestion. No, okay, thumbs down for the statement. Thumbs down for the statement or thumbs up. So we got 6 thumbs down for 106. And you said we skipped number 105?
Correct.
Okay. So this is in the second paragraph to add a link for ADA guaranteed ride area or include in the glossary and link. Commissioner Norton.
I can clarify this one. I move this one forward. I would agree with his suggestion, and I thought we could, since we have other hyperlinks within the document, that it would be appropriate to have a hyperlink to the Mountain Line page that offered this guaranteed ride area for Flagstaff by Mountain Line. So let me clarify, my suggestion is slightly different than what he wanted to add. He wanted to add a link directly to like an ADA guaranteed ride area definition page. I thought it would be more applicable to add the hyperlink directly to what we offer here in Flagstaff on the Mountain Line page that covers the ADA guaranteed ride area.
Is that already covered in the Flagstaff in Motion or I'm not? I understand
Chair
what you're,
Mandino,
yeah.
I believe it is covered in the 5-year transit plan.
What'd you say? It was
I do believe that the description of guaranteed ride services is covered in the 5-year transit plan.
Okay, so that it's not necessary in this part of the plan. Thumbs up or thumbs down I've got 3 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down. Council gets to decide on that one. All right, and so we covered the 108, same as 107. So then on 109, it's just include in the plan that we need a new historic inventory. And staff comment was funding and timing of this needs to be part of the historic preservation action plan that is already in the action items. So it's already covered. I don't know that this is a necessary item. I mean, I understand what this is asking, but I'm not sure that it's necessary in the plan. Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, so my note was, does this action plan hold the same weight as an area and specific plan as explained in the planning pyramid? That's, yeah, does this action plan, is this what gets referred to or no?
Sarah?
No, Commissioner Norton, this is a historic preservation action plan is a programmatic and strategic plan more similar to the 10-year housing plan. So it is not a specific plan. And while specific plans sometimes do identify areas within the boundaries that need an inventory, how to conduct an inventory or how to prioritize the need for inventories within the city would be more appropriate in the historic preservation action plan.
Okay.
Lauren, I know, can answer more nuanced questions on that if there are any.
Any other questions or comments? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We've got 6 thumbs down. Okay, and now we SOT has wants to add the word "and native," and I think we've kind of discussed this before, that the native plant is too broad. And so thumbs up or thumbs down. We've got 6 thumbs down. The next, so now we're on line 111. And that's chapter 10, energy and climate action makes the statement, the city's goal of achieving carbon neutrality is intrinsically linked to APS's carbon-free commitment. And this comment is saying that it because it's linked to APS's commitment, which may change, which is probably going to change, that we shouldn't link the two. But if we could have sustainability, sustainability would be speaking about this today's not 10-3. So go ahead and I'm confused as to what. Oh, 10-3 on chapter 10-3.
Yeah, it was noting that it's on both pages 1 and 3 in chapter 10.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of it as a date. Never mind. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Sustainability staff was on just a minute ago. If you'll just give me a moment.
I'm here.
Yeah, she's here in the
Oh,
room.
good. Thank you. Good. Hi, Jenny. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commission members. Yes, APS's carbon-free commitment is already.
Can you speak a little louder?
Not sure. I'm fairly loud. How's that? Good? Yeah. How's that? All right. Okay. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. So I'm Jenny Neiman, Climate Action Section Director in our Sustainability Division.
APS's commitment already is wavering, and so staff agrees that this language is too specific to tie us to their commitment. And we have proposed revisions that don't talk about APS's commitment at one point in time. This doesn't fundamentally change the direction of the city. Our electric grid is already, as of 2024, it's about 51% what APS calls clean energy sources. So that's renewable energy, hydro, and nuclear. And that trajectory is variable and unknown. And so staff proposes to simply change language on 10.1 and 10, I had it as 10.2, but maybe it's 10.3, on 2 pages within chapter 10 to take out that specificity about APS's commitment, talk in a different way about how our goals are linked to the decarbonization of the electric grid. They are linked, but they're not, exclusive. We can achieve one without the other. And then also just to reword a couple things to make a little bit more sense. So yes, staff has revisions to address this concern.
Any other questions or comments? Do we want to give a thumbs up on what staff is recommending? Thumbs up for what staff recommends? We've got 6 thumbs up. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
folks.
All right, now we're to line 108. Reword, I'm sorry, the last sentence of the data centers and chip manufacturing section to more clearly indicate disfavorability toward resource intensive data centers, as well as mentioning it through chapter 9. Yes, CJ?
I pulled this one because when the speaker was here, I hadn't even really thought about it up until their comment, but I think it is worthwhile to put in there to say that we don't want any data centers that are going to pull from our water supply and maybe cause other things and other unintended consequences.
I would agree with that, but I just want to also mention, I happen to read in the Arizona Republic that some of the data centers now are reusing their water. So we don't want to exclude them, but we want to be clear that if they are going to do conservation type product, then maybe we would want that kind of a use. So I would just offer that clarification.
Sarah?
Thank you, Chairman Dino. I just want to point out this is a background section. It doesn't set any policy. So adding the kind of language described by the commenter here would not influence a development case associated with a data center. It's just background information. So what I hear the commission wanting is language that might state that we either don't want data centers or only want data centers if they're recycling their water or something like that. But I think the problem is that the technology is evolving very rapidly. And so a lot of our other conservation oriented goals and policies might conflict if a data center is highly consumptive of water or electricity in a manner that we don't think is sustainable. So I do not know if you want to have an explicit prohibition, it might not prevent a data center from being built in a location that could impact our water supply, because if you look at the map in chapter 10 of the large geographic area covered by the sea aquifer, and you take into account the Western Area Power Authority's WAPA line, which is a high kV transmission line through the region. We could create a prohibition in Flagstaff and it still could happen in a manner that affects our water and electricity, but is outside of our authority to regulate. That's kind of complicated, but saying you could prohibit it and that might not stop it within the larger region that can affect our water supply.
Any other comments? Do we want to do a thumbs up, thumbs down? Are we ready for that? We have 2 thumbs up and 4 thumbs down. All right, moving on to the next. It's line 113, I believe. Remove unauthorized trails from the trails shown as existing in the regional trails map, plan map. And I thought that we,
Yes, Chair Mandino,
Yeah.
you did previously vote to add a disclaimer to the map.
correct. So I think that we don't need to consider this one. Okay. Moving on to the next, revise the paratransit definition to add for people with disabilities who may be unable to use standard bus services. Staff recommends this edit. So do we want to take a vote? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We've got 6 thumbs up. That brings us to the last item of this. We still have to go to the errata. Add to glossary, universal design, the practice of creating building environments, products, and services to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or special design. And staff's comment was the rule of thumb for the glossary was not to define words that could be easily looked up online and that did not have unique meaning within the document. So staff is saying that this is not needed. Mary?
Yeah, I don't think we ended up in our voting adding anything that mentioned universal design. So we certainly wouldn't need to put it in the glossary.
So thumbs up, thumbs down, 6 thumbs down. And now we need to, do we need to look at the errata and all the items? We don't need to consider item by item. Is that correct?
Chair Mandino, that is correct. So at this point, the commission has reviewed the errata, reviewed all of the comments that people have asked in advance to be moved forward. So if there's any, I think if there's any other topics or comments that haven't been discussed, the commission would like to discuss, they should do so now. And then your recommended motion is to recommend approval of the plan with the 2 conditions that are in the staff report to direct the changes in the errata and the conditions of approval, which you have moved forward during the meeting. So that's the next step, I think, is is there something we haven't discussed you want to discuss? And if the answer to that is we're done and we don't have anything else to add, then to work on the motion.
All right, thank you. So is there anything else that the commission would like to move forward? Are you fine with what we've moved forward thus far? Does somebody want to make a motion? And that does include all of our recommendations, and the errata has to be included with that. So Mary, you have a motion?
Well, so we're looking for a motion to recommend approval
Of the
regional plan
regional plan
with
with the,
conditions that we have developed and the errata list.
does that work?
Chair Mandino, I believe staff can pull up the wording from the staff report if you'd like to work from that.
Thank you. So since we don't have a second, we will look at the staff report. We're just waiting for that to be pulled up. Can we make that a little bit bigger? So if you would like to make the motion, CJ?
Okay, let's see. I move that the proposed comprehensive update of the general plan be forwarded to the city council for adoption, and we submit the proposed update to the voters for ratification at a May 2026 special election. The following conditions are: update the plan per the attached errata, make changes to the plan as listed in the conditions of approval document prepared and reviewed during the hearing.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
So Commissioner Sharp has seconded the motion made by Commissioner Lukey. Any comments or questions? My only comment is I want to thank staff for all their hours and work on this and dealing with us, asking you questions and being able to answer them and get them in quick reply. I really appreciate that to all staff. Anybody else for any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Yay. We're supposed to hold on for something. Do we have any miscellaneous items to and from commission members? No? Okay, then we are adjourned and it's 6:53. Yay.